Hello, 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 hello. I am. Camera is faced the wrong way again. Uh-oh. One moment, please. There we go. There we go. Hey, everybody. Hey, hey, hey. Welcome to Mondays with Megs. Mostly Mondays with Megs, which is, I do it on the Mondays I want to do it. Hi, Kara. So good to see you. Jewel. Hello. Hello, my Insta friends. We're on Facebook. We're winning. Oh, goodness. I don't know this being on all the platforms thing, but we're figuring it out as we go. So, back by popular demand, last week's podcast was about frames. Hi, Erin. Last week's podcast, we talked about what is framing your world. And today I want to get a little bit more specific, and I want to dive a little bit deeper into frames. I've had some requests to go deeper, and for whatever reason today I can see some of the comments on both Insta and Facebook. So if you have a question, please, hi Mimi, please write it in the comment section, because right now at least I can see it. So let's go with it. Something that is and I don't see this talked about a lot. I see a lot of people talk about beliefs and points of view, but the conversation about frames is really, really big, because framing is a little bit bigger. It's kind of like how you're framing a particular event or experience really determine how profitable it is, meaning how beneficial it is to you, how easeful you work through it or don't. It's really depending on the frame. So any area of your life where you have frustration, where you have suppression, depression, it's not working out, whatever you do, you're not getting successful at it, I will guarantee you have a very dynamic and probably deeply held frame in that area of your life that is making it feel like crap to you. Okay. So I want to talk about we're going to go into more specifics. I did sort of a general conversation about frames last week, and I want to go into more specifics. So for those of you who may be just grabbing this for the first time and like, who the hell am I? My name is Megan Sillitoe, and I've been a transformational facilitator for 29 years. I've been at this a long time. It's my passion. I'm in this conversation just swimming in it for most of the hours of the day that I live and exist. So, and I've worked with tens of thousands of people and supported them in having the lives that they truly wish to be having, financially successful, physically successful, all the things. And this is really, really the biggest thing that trips people up. And I think it's worth a deeper conversation. So thank you for the people who asked for part 2 for this. So let me give you an example. Let's say that, let me tell on myself. When I was turning 50, I remember saying to my partner, Suzanne, how sad I was that I hadn't learned to surf in this lifetime. And she looked at me and she's like, you dummy, like, like, you're not even 50 years old. Like, why are you talking like an old person? And I was like, I just kind of caught myself and I was like, oh, like, I think that I had this frame that 50 was old and that it was too old. And in part that came from being raised by my grandparents, who are a lot older than I was. And so, I remember some of the first conversations that I heard growing up was when they were going to die and who was going to take care of me when they died. And my grandma mom was 52 when she took me on as an infant. And so these conversations started when she was about 57, 58 that I can recall. And so, like, in my little head, that's when people died. That's when people got put out to pasture. And my father retired at 63. So I was like 11 or 12 years old. And then he just sort of waited to die in a certain way. And so it was an interesting sort of thing to be pickled in. And I hadn't realized that that was my frame, that I was running this frame called I'm getting old. It's the end. I'm not going to be able to have fun. I'm not going to be able to be physical. I don't know what the hell, because that's the thing about frames, is that they oftentimes include literally hundreds and maybe thousands of points of view and beliefs that substantiate the frame. And that's how frames work, is that when we have a frame of a way or a thing that we believe this is the way it is, then we have to have all these like supporting cast members, supporting beliefs that hold that in place. And so one of the most powerful things about understanding your frame is that when you unlock it, you unlock a whole host of limiting beliefs and limiting points of view when you unlock the frame. So this is exciting stuff, boys and girls. So I now have a frame around, and right now I'm calling it youthfully maturing, that I believe that I am going to be looking and feeling younger, being more active, being more physical as I gain years. That is my new frame. And it's an interesting thing because the conversation around aging is totally changing. Like, we understand now that aging, actually, the way that we have aged doesn't need to exist anymore. That the stuff that's considered old age is actually coming from different choices people make, and most importantly, mindset. Even the best, most successful biohackers, I've been listening to conversations on longevity, and the number one factor is mindset in how you age. But that's like the number one factor of everything, right? We know scientifically the one thing that can be proven over and over and over again is the placebo effect. So our frames are freaking potent, right? So here's an example of a frame. I'm sick, therefore, whatever. Like, oh no, I'm getting older. Am I going to be like this forever? Like, we go into these things. What if your frame for your body was something in the neighborhood of, this came to me. I actually, I'm going to continue to tell on myself. I had that weird sinus flu that's been going around. Many of my clients now have. But I got to the other side of it, and then 5 or 6 days later, I felt something in my lungs, and I felt this tired, and I felt all of the same symptoms that mindset does dictate everything. Thank you, Ruthie. Yeah. So I had like this, all the same symptoms as when I had in 2019. I had pneumonia for like 10 months, and I was like super scared, and I was doing the things physically. I went and got an IV. I went and did the hyperbaric chamber and red light therapy, and I'm doing these different things on the physical. But I was like, okay, I have learned over the years that when my body is not feeling well, when something's happening with it, that it's my body's bid for connection and communion with me. That's a different frame, right? That there is, in every illness and every pain, there is a potency, a power that our body is trying to express to us. It's trying to connect us to our power. It's trying to connect us to something greater, something more. So I was doing this Qigong has in Qigong, there's a program called Healing Sounds. And so I was doing the healing sound for the lungs, which is a sound for the emotion. And I was doing the movement that went with it while doing it. And all of a sudden, this whole big bucket of grief comes out. And, there was some images that came with it, but there was just this huge release of grief. Well, the lungs, when the chi is not good in the lungs, it carries grief and depression. And when the chi is really good in the lungs, because the lungs are the commander of chi, the commander of energy, right? Then the potency is confidence, and courage and inspiration, interestingly enough. So I had this whole like release, and I knew that my body had shifted whatever that was. I knew I didn't have pneumonia anymore. And it was such a powerful moment for me. I have a very hard time accessing feelings. Actually, I need to do things like movement and breath and Qigong to kind of get to them. And so I knew that was happening, but I didn't know how to get there. And that was just an intuition that I had that day to do this healing sound meditation. And it was so profound. And it's like, oh, like, what if we actually looked at everything happen? I mean, how many times do we go that we judge ourselves for being like overweight? Oh, what potency actually, what bid for communion is that from your body? Right. Like whatever it is, like for me, that recently the aging thing has been, well, I would say that there was a period of a few years during menopause where I was like, I'm getting old, right? And so it's like that's something that I'm shifting my frame around and working to shift my frame around, because all around us there's these ideas that influence and lock in these frames. And so we have to be kind of vigilant, to really look at what frame am I holding here? Like if this wasn't a problem, like one of the biggest frames that will F you up in this reality, can you guess what it is? Time frames. So I'm gonna tell on myself again. Oh goodness. I think that I became a coach just to get my shit together. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how many of you other coaches feel like that, but like I feel like so much of my process of getting uncorked and getting untwisted and all of that, right, has like come through my desire to serve humanity. And I think that's kind of a really cool thing. That's why I tell myself all the time. I used to do things like, one of the things that is extremely self-abusive is to put short time frames on things, or to go, oh, I'll never be able to do that. That's another form of a time frame, or that will take forever, right? But I want to speak to the short time frame. So I used to play this game called I'm going to lose 20 pounds in 3 months. And when I wouldn't, it would go under the I failed. I'm not going to be able to do this. I can't do this, over and over. I can't even tell you how many times I did that. Like, truthfully, I probably did that 100 times. And so I had this thing in my brain. What the frame it created is, no matter what I do, no matter how hard I work, I'm never going to be able to change my body. And part of that is because we actually can't control the number on the scale. So trying to control the uncontrollable is a really problematic frame, And the gift of having pneumonia for 10 months in 2019 is that the only thing I wanted was to feel good. Like I just wanted to have a little bit of energy every day, because for 10 months I lived literally with almost no energy. And wow, that was not fun. That was really not fun. And so it actually what introduced me to Qigong, because the only thing I could do, I couldn't even walk across the hall, right, without getting winded or without having an asthmatic response. So I did these little 7-minute Qigong routines that opened up my energy, that opened up because it gave me energy. And the more energy I had, the more things I wanted to do, because I was so excited to have energy again. And like my body has been shifting ever since. I would say that I look younger, I'm stronger, I'm more vital, I have more energy than I did 5 years ago. And that came out of a process of taking off the time frame. Although I hadn't realized I was doing that, it wasn't like this conscious thought, I'm going to take off the time frame. I just freaking wanted to feel good. I just wanted a little bit of energy. I just wanted a little bit of life force in me. And so I changed my frame called I suck, I'm overweight and out of shape, and I'm never going to change. That was really not the best frame for changing my body. 2, I would really, really, what would it take to have energy today? What would it take to have energy today? And through that time frame, things began to shift. I am a snitch. I'm snitching on myself all over the place. So, so the other frame I wanted to talk about, and I'm telling on myself yet again, is that, as I said earlier, this is my 29th year being a transformer, a facilitator, a healer on this planet, and having that be my path of my full-time living. And in the last, I would say a few years ago, I was bemoaning the fact that I was helping all of these people launch into these really big, successful careers in this industry and in other industries. And I, even though I've helped tens of thousands of people, I really felt like the sort of getting traction visibly, globally, was sort of eluding me, you know, and what they call scaling, if you will. And I was like kind of coming to this, like maybe this dream of the level of service of humanity that I've always felt like I could be and would be was not going to happen in this lifetime. And I went to Jamaica for my birthday last year, 2022. And I was, my partner, Suzanne, had created this surprise jungle waterfall adventure. And we went way up in the jungle in Jamaica with this beautiful guide, listening to what is that? Rastafarian music. There's a word. I'm not getting it. Anyway, maybe one of you guys can write it. And we were climbing up in the jungle, and we were climbing up this whole river and waterfall. It was like a mineral river and mineral waterfall. And it was just so gorgeous and so beautiful. And I just had this experience of nature talking to me. Have you guys ever had that? Have you ever felt that? It's very cool. I definitely have gotten awareness and information from trees, and you know, but it was more like in a direct process where I'm sitting and meditating and going into the tree and all the things, all the magical things. But I was just having fun, and I had been the guide was so kind and loving to me that it just like I was like, he just stopped the van and he ran out and he picked these flowers and he came in and he gave them to me, and I was just so open. I was just in such thank you, Reggie. It was just such a heart opening experience, and I was just in this place of receiving. And I heard her say, I'm going to say her, maybe it's a they, them. Do you know how long it took me to create this? And I was like, mm-hmm. And like basically what I got was like thousands of years to create that rainforest, and for the water to come down in that way, and for the trees to be at their level of growth. And I was like, they said, great things take time. They take space, they take nurturing. And it said, I'm in no hurry. You're creating great things and you need deep foundations. Keep going. And I was like, just like this weight came off my shoulders. And my job is to continue the process of uncovering my gifts and what I'm here to be and what I'm here to share, and to follow the energy and to take the next step in front of me. And because the truth is, guys, we don't have a vote about timing. That's not in our control, right? What we can do is show up and receive and act and choose and be as much as we can be, right? Our job is to show up and say yes. But timing, and there's a lot I could say about timing. I'm playing a lot with Chronos and Kairos these days, which is chronological time versus deep space, which is no time. And where do they intersect? A conversation for another day. Super fun ideas I'm playing with. But time frames, I would really, really invite you to look at your time frames. Are they actually serving you? Are they actually serving you? Now, sometimes it can be fun to go, oh, what can I used to play money games, and I'd do a 30-day money game and see what I could create in 30 days. And sometimes that works as long as it's coming from, wouldn't it be fun to? When you have a time frame that's coming from I have a problem, I should have fixed it by now, and if I don't fix it by this time, then I'm screwed, which is how most people do time frames. Time frames can work if it's really for fun and there's no beat up and there's no wrongness or failure if you don't meet the timeline. It's really, really hard to do for these little brains. I'm just saying. So what I would invite you to look at any area of your life that you feel like has been eluding you, that is, I can't create success in this area, or why is it taking so long? I really want to invite you to look at the frame. What is it you're telling yourself about that? And what if you could turn that frame on its head, right? As I said, one of the frames that I'm playing with right now is like looking at the future of this time in my life. You know, I'm about a year and a little bit away from 60, and I'm looking at the cultural myths that we've bought into, and how can I turn it on its head? So I'm playing with one of my creative partners from long ago, Phil Johncock. My book, The Power of Living Genius, he's my co-author on that. And we're looking at writing a book about the idea of actually creating more with more fun, more energy, and more joy, more streams of profit in this time frame, rather than looking to retire, which is to put out to pasture, and this idea that I should have it all figured out and I should have enough money to live and not work and all of the things, right? But how to create and generate profitable streams, and have more fun, to utilize more genius, because any time that we're not utilizing our genius, our gifts and capacities, life's hard. There's effort involved. And I will say that energy changes as you gain chronos, as you gain more years. It's not that you have less, it's just that you don't have energy to waste in the same way. So doing shit you're not good at, or that you're only competent at, actually, it really, you get to see how it drains your life force. I think I'm more sensitive to my energy now. So coming into this time in my life means that I get to be exacting isn't quite the right word, but on the adventure of what are my gifts and capacities, and put that first, put that forward, right? Dive into that and be that, and let that be the generative life force that I am coming from. And so, like, I'm a big fan of kind of upside downing the frames of this reality of, I remember when I first started my practice, everybody told me that I couldn't make a living doing this because nobody was that many years ago. I was doing rapid eye therapy at the time, and they said, well, even if you could, it's going to take you 7 years. And I was like, screw you and the horse you rode in on. And I did it in a year. It took me a year. And then basically I've been making my living ever since, in doing what I love and doing this work. And not only has it become a way to make a living, but it's also now a way to generate wealth. And that's so, so exciting. So I invite you to F with your frames, like really challenge Adventures in Cryos. Yeah. It's Kairos. Cryos is the freezing thing, Marion. But yes, Adventures in Kairos, I think is how you say it, would be awesome. So, so look at where you're stuck or where you feel stuck. Look at the frame, and I invite you to turn it upside down. So I've given you some examples today of ways I've turned frames upside down. What frame needs to change that, if you changed it, would set you free? Cool question, right? All right, guys, I plan to be here next Monday, same time, same bat channel. I'm not sure if I'm going to be talking about frames or something else. I try to keep these short and sweet for you to give you as much content and resource as possible in a short amount of time. So thank you for joining me. You can check out more of my work at megansilito.com, and I will see you next week. Thank you. Thank you.